Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Sasquatch Watch Radio with your hosts, Billy Willard and the Blog Squatcher. Strap in, hold on tight, get ready, because it is about to go down.
Hello and welcome, everybody. It is Monday, January 12th, 2009. If you haven't figured it out yet, I am not Billy Willard. This is indeed the Blog Squatcher here with you, DBD. The thing that's happened, see, is that Billy has gone and gotten himself a case of pneumonia. And you can't really have pneumonia and be talking on the radio, so we're going to have to do without Billy tonight, and that's going to be rough because I'm not used to this part of the show. But hey, we will make do with what we have, and what we have is not just the Blog Squatcher, but also John Cartwright, who's going to call in a minute so that he can help us watch the chat room and what have you. I'm going to press this button right here. I think this is John Cartwright now. Let's see if we've got him. John, are you on the air here?
Yeah, hi, DB, it's me.
Great. Okay, so we've got John Cartwright here. Now, John, usually at this part of the...
Hello? Hello? Hello?
So, am I back on the air? Okay, well, have I got anybody? I see the 716 call. That's Jordan Warner still, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, for whatever reason, Blog Talk Radio decided to hang up on me right in the middle of my sentence. But I'll just pick up where I was. Billy will not be here. JC will be here. He's not on the line right now. I'm sure he'll call right back. Sorry about the dead air there, and I certainly hope that doesn't happen again, but it might. So hang on, people. It might happen again. So, Jordan, I got a couple of news items I'm going to go over here. Let's see. A lot of you probably know about Field and Stream. I'm just going to click this button. I know this is JC. Boink. JC, is this you?
Yeah, it's me. I got disconnected.
Yeah, me too. Join the club, bud. All right, going back to the news, Field and Stream was running a contest, and I thought it was a pretty cool contest because if anybody's ever going to get a picture of a Sasquatch, it's going to be some guy with a game cam, and he's not necessarily putting it out looking for a Sasquatch. He doesn't know what he's got when he gets it at first, and then he says, well, I'll be darned if that doesn't look like a Sasquatch. I think that's the way that'll happen. So I was kind of happy to see Field and Stream running a contest like that. Maybe somebody had a picture, and you just take a little bit of goading to get them to share it with everybody. But do you know what happened? JC, tell me, do you know what happened? He doesn't know. Field and Stream declared a winner in their contest, and the winner was Bigfoot rocking out to his iPod. A picture, obviously a faked picture, a guy wearing a Bigfoot costume with an iPod on his head, holding the iPod in his hand. That was their winner. So they obviously they didn't take this thing very seriously. So with that in mind, I wonder if it'll ever work for them to run a contest like that again. Because if I suddenly came upon a real Bigfoot picture, I might hesitate before I would turn it into Field and Stream now because I'd know that they thought it was a big joke. Yeah. You got anything to say about that, JC?
No.
Okay. Well, I just want to include you in the thoughts here. The second news item is that Destination Truth is going to be coming back next season on Sci-Fi Channel. If you didn't get to watch Destination Truth, they had a really good couple of episodes that had to do with the Yeti and the Yowie. They do a lot of other things also. It's not just cryptids. They do, I think I've seen them do ghosts and all sorts of crazy stuff. But it's an entertaining and interesting show no matter what they're doing. So I'm happy to see that they're coming back, and they are going to do at least one more with a man like Harry Monster. They're going back to look for the Yeti again, but they also said they'd be going to Florida and Alaska, and I imagine they could be doing Bigfoot in both of those. You know, the skunk ape in Florida, and they might be doing Bigfoot in Alaska. If they're not doing Bigfoot, I don't know what they'd be doing up in Alaska. So that's good news. Now, with the news out of the way, I also think I was in the middle of saying something like, we all wish Billy a speedy recovery. We miss him. We don't want to be doing another Monday night without him, so I hope that he's back up to speed again next Monday. Of course, if he isn't, take the time that you need. The pneumonia is not something to fool around with. But our guest tonight is going to be Jordan Warner, who is the creator of an internet show called Cryptid Hunt. And I just watched the show this afternoon. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was about the Whitehall Bigfoot incident, and I thought that was a really well-done show. And folks, I hope Jordan will give you an idea of how you can take a look at that show if you want to. Also, I'm sure that's the first thing he'll do. Jordan, welcome to the show, and let us know how do we get a hold of those shows to watch.
Well, hey, DB and JC, it's good to be on. When I first started out making a cryptozoology series, of course, it took a lot of effort in doing it. Well, when I first started out in this field, my dad was watching a documentary on the History Channel called History's Mysteries. It was about Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster, and I just became, fascinated by, sightings all around the world of, these unknown animals, and I really wanted to get involved in solving, these mysteries. And so I started looking on the internet, looking up all the researchers, the BFRO site, Blog Talk Radio, some of the shows that are on, and I've always had this idea of a cryptozoology show in my head, but, I really didn't think it was going to go through and all that, but as I grew up, I just thought, if anybody can do this, with all the researchers out there, I can probably do this. So as I got older, I contacted the eyewitnesses, the interviews, and started to produce this series that you see on YouTube.
Now, I thought that the show that I saw was really well done, and what I liked about it was that you really went in depth in a lot of the stuff that some other show might have skipped over, probably because they have time constraints they have to worry about, whereas you don't. You can do the show as long as you want to, I imagine.
Yeah.
I liked how you went into the history of the Whitehall area and some of the things that have been seen there. And I thought that your interviews of the two local guys were actually really good. They were obviously very comfortable giving you the interviews. So you must be a good interviewer to get them comfortable like that. And they gave good information. I really was impressed by that show. So
it took a lot of work into contacting the eyewitnesses and the researchers. I tried to track them down. I contact Paul Bartholomew was the researcher I contacted. He's a very nice guy in Whitehall, New York. He's very, very good in what he discussed to me about the history and the sightings in Whitehall. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun doing it.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you give everybody your website address yet?
Well, I'm not on the chat room, but if you go to YouTube, I'm pretty sure Bill Green or Henry, if Henry May's there, he'll probably give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
If you just type in Cryptid Hunt
right
on the YouTube search, just click on one of my videos, and then you'll find my profile, which is GVKK, capital letters, and then you'll find my whole profile of my series.
Right. Great. So I had a couple of questions here that I wrote up really fast. And, you know, when you write up a question, oftentimes they're kind of boring. So I apologize if these are boring questions, but, you know, we'll just work through them and see what happens. What is it that got you interested in this? I think you already gave a little bit of that in what you said before, but what was it that got you the most interested in doing this sort of thing?
Well, as a kid, you know, as I grew up, I was always fascinated with monsters. I was a big fan of the 1933 classic King Kong film and the Godzilla movies. So, you know, that as the future goes on, as technology advances, you know, scientists and everybody thinks we know everything, but we really don't. That's the truth. You gotta accept that. You know, say Bigfoot, a 6-7 foot tall hairy creature that's been seen all over the world, and you know, there's been sightings, and police officers are seeing these creatures, Marines, military officials. So, you know, as I'm looking into these reports, it just strikes me that, you know, the news media and the scientists aren't really accepting the existence. You know, well, there's only a handful of scientists who accept the Sasquatch as a real animal. Dr. John Bindernagel certainly does. So just the fact that people aren't really getting involved in a lot, the scientists aren't getting involved a lot into this field. So I really wanted to be part of getting into it and solving these mysteries.
Well, that's a good answer. I like that answer. Yeah, we need to get some people involved and interested. It's going to be harder to get a lot of the scientists, you know, interested. But
Right.
What can happen is that just like it happened with me and it happened with you, people who are young right now can watch some of the things that you produce, and that can affect them so that when they get older, you know, they might be interested. So,
Right.
you know, you can think of yourself as sort of pioneering the next generation of Bigfoot researchers or other cryptid researchers, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. Now, let's see. I got another one of these canned questions here. Did you face any obstacles in making these videos because of your age?
Well, as some of the members of the chat room probably know, I had a lot of criticism on cryptozoology.com by certain members. I'm not going to mention, but yes, I have gotten a lot of criticism since the fact I'm only 15 years old, and people are saying, "You're only 15. Why are you doing this?" Or that you're copying off of these other shows, or you know, just crap like that. So I really don't pay attention to any of this, any of the criticism. You know, it just brings you down. So I just want to do what I want to do. I want to investigate what I want to investigate and get the answers that a lot of us in the Bigfoot community need, or we're looking for. So I just hope that people these days, you know, are accepting these creatures' existence, because people are seeing something, and whether it's an ancient primate, I don't know, but I hope people will get involved in researching this phenomena.
Yeah, more people should get involved if they, especially if they have a scientific degree and can, you know, bring some expertise to it. But even if they don't, I mean, people who just do it in their spare time because they're interested, I mean, that's legitimate too. Let me go ahead and give the call-in number here real fast. If you want to call in and ask any questions, the number is 347-237-5070. That's 347-237-5070. Now, I have another question that's a canned question, and we ask this of everybody. Have you ever had any encounters of your own?
Well, actually, if anybody in the chat room has a copy of Paul Bartholomew's new book, Bigfoot Encounters in New York and New England, there's actually an area in his sighting reports, I think it's at the back of the pages, in Cattaraugus County, New York, which is only about maybe 10, 20 miles away from my house. I wouldn't say it was a Bigfoot encounter, but it was a strange, weird feeling. There's this park in Cattaraugus County named Griffith Sculpture Park, and it's just a big park with, you know, ponds, hills, and sculptures of an artist. I forgot his name, but anyways, it was about maybe around 6 o'clock in the evening. There was nobody around. It was just me and my dad just hiking through the woods. And as I we were going down in a ravine, and suddenly up the hill, I heard wood knocking. I didn't think of Bigfoot at first, but I was getting involved with the field as I heard it, but I really didn't pay much attention to it. But I just started playing around with it. And then, actually, this summer, I went back to the same spot and did more wood knocking, and I got another response in the same area, but at a different location, though, in that area. And I started to play, with it, and I started to follow the sounds. As I followed the sounds, I got so many cuts and bruises from the branches and everything because they were so sharp, and I really wanted to know what made those sounds. And the sound sounded like gunshots. It happened after I did the wood knocking, so it was a loud sound, of course. And also, actually, last week, me and my dad went to the same area where we heard the wood knocking, and we found these strange, I heard a lot of research. There's been strange teepee formations. I actually seen this weird-looking. If you take a vine, for example, like a vine in a rainforest, you know how long it stretches. Well, we saw this log. It wasn't a log. It was like a long stick. It was actually formed in a weird, kind of like a serpent-like thing. And I've seen this in a lot of other sightings. It's probably like a territory of these creatures, like saying, "Back off, don't enter." And I actually seen like a pattern of these. Like I've seen like 6 more. It was like in a circular formation, which I thought was very strange. So that really wasn't an sighting. That was just a weird experience. And I also had some, I was being watched. I've been to the sculpture park since I was 3 years old, but I just had a weird feeling that I was being watched by something when this happened. So it was a very weird experience. I should say that.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in those. You get that creepy feeling when you're out in the woods. People talk about that, but there's, I don't know if there's a really good explanation for it. So I like to follow that up. Can I ask you some questions about that feeling?
Sure.
All right. So did it come on you all at once, or did you sort of gradually become aware that you felt like somebody was watching you or something was watching you?
Well, at first, as we got there, I was all excited to go in the woods, hiking with my dad. But as I got out of the car, as we went down the hill, I don't know what it was. I've been to this place so many times. Just a weird little, thing in my heart. Just a weird feeling. I really don't know what it was. Right. And we were heading down towards a pond, and as we were circling around the pond, it started to grow and grow and grow. And the weird thing was my dad, he actually said, "Jordan, can I see the binoculars?" And he looked over the pond and he said he saw something, but he really didn't tell me what it was. I actually haven't told my dad what he saw, but I don't know, just the feeling grew and grew, and I really don't know. It was just a weird kind of threatening feeling.
Right. Did it ever get to the point where it affected your body? Like some people will talk about their hair raising up on the back of their necks. Did anything like that happen?
Yes, my hair actually did raise on the back of my neck, and my legs were actually shaking a little bit. But I didn't want to show my dad because he would laugh at me or something like that. But I just had a weird he wasn't feeling that? Well, he saw something, but he didn't tell me. He thought he saw something, but he didn't really tell me what it was. I said it was a deer. He just didn't say anything. He just looked and tried to see what he saw.
I see.
But I don't know if it's Sasquatch related. It was just a weird feeling.
Well, there's a lot of people who have that feeling, and then a Sasquatch encounter will happen. So, you're at least justified if you think it might have something to do with Sasquatch because it's connected with other Sasquatch encounters. But you can't say, oh, for sure that means there's a Sasquatch there, but it might mean that. There's a few other things that I often ask about these events. For instance, afterwards, did you find yourself dreaming about it?
Not really, but I did actually have a strange dream about 2 or 3 days ago, actually. Well, this doesn't relate to Bigfoot, but this does relate to cryptozoology. There's a lot of things going on for the Mothman creature, and I actually had a dream where I was just seeing those, because in a lot of eyewitness reports for the Mothman creature, they claim to have dreams and dark premonitions of a strange, the devil or something like that.
Right.
And I actually did see 2 red eyes in my dream. This actually did happen. I see 2 red eyes, and my body just felt paralyzed. Like it kind of felt like I was like floating in the air, just heading towards these 2 red eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And as I woke up, I still have like a chest cold from that dream. When I woke up, I still have it right now as I'm talking to you. So
that's very interesting.
I don't know. And we were in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where the Mothman stuff occurred. So
yeah,
I don't know.
So you're filming now for another episode. Is that what you're doing?
Right.
Cool. And your next episode will be about the Mothman, or?
Mothman, yes.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I can see that we have a caller on the line here. I'm going to go ahead and get this and see what happens. What comes of it? Let's see here. The area code 716. You're on the air.
Hi. This is Josh.
Hey, Josh, how are you?
Good.
This is Josh. He actually plays Albert Osman in my Sasquatch episode.
Oh, yeah. Josh got hauled through the woods by his feet.
Yeah, that was a fun scene.
Right. Have you got a question for our guest today, Josh?
I guess not.
Well, it's great to call in and give your support.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for calling, Josh.
Welcome. See you tomorrow.
Yep.
Bye.
All right. Thanks a lot, Josh. And then let's see, I press this button here. It's the first time ever doing this, people. I don't know what I'm doing. But it seems to have worked. Okay, let's see. JC, have we got any questions from the chat room yet?
Yes, I have one, and it's from Arky Feet, and it says, does Jordan plan on studying broadcast journalism?
Yes, I'm actually, for my episodes, I write a lot for the scripts and who's going to be in the episode and a lot. But yes, I'm going into filmmaking and journalism as I graduate college, and I hope some of these crypto films I'm working on will give me an extra boost into my studies.
Great. You know what? Concerning that, I mean, you seem to already know quite a bit about this. How did you figure all this stuff out?
Well, over the filmmaking?
Yes.
Well, actually, I started to make low-budget movies with Josh, who came on, and I actually did post some very low-budget fighting, kids with sword movies, but,
Right.
It wasn't just the right thing to do, in my opinion, because I really didn't have that passion as I do for my series. But I just taught myself, for doing the filmmaking and editing software. So I just kept learning to do it myself, pretty much.
Right.
And I'm getting more into it now.
Yeah. Well, you really seem to know what you're doing. I can see that you're influenced by some of the modern shows like Monster Quest and what have you. But did you get to see any of the older shows? Like when I was a kid, the show that was on was called In Search Of, and man, there was a bunch of us that loved In Search Of. It was just we used to talk about it, and we used to wait up to see it. It was great. Have you ever been able to see any of the older shows, and did you learn anything from those?
Yes, I actually have seen some of the In Search Of episodes. They're not as high-tech as some of the other shows today, but they are really good, actually. I actually enjoy watching them. I actually have a copy of the Bigfoot episode from Gary Mangiacopra. He's from Connecticut. He's a cryptozoologist who studies sea serpents. So, yes, I have seen some of the original crypto films.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, you've had a chance to interview a lot of people and collect their stories. Can you tell me what was the story? And let's make it about Bigfoot. I know you do other things than Bigfoot, but what was the Bigfoot story that most impressed you or made you say, wow, or what have you?
There's a lot. Probably the fact that police officer, Danny Gordon, example, the fact that Danny Gordon, he's a retired police officer, and he saw this creature, as he was just investigating the area with his partner. And the fact that, police officers are trained for the art of observation, and they know what they saw, they know what a bear looks like, they know what, a human is. And the fact, and Paul Bartholomew, he actually told me that, Danny Gordon told me this, but in the winter, it seems more thinner, but it's tall, muscular, but more thinner. Mm-hmm. And in the summer, they're more heavy. It was more heavier built. So, and Danny Gordon told me it wasn't as large and fat as a lot of the reports are, but it was skinny, tall, and a little bit muscular. So it has a hard time in the winter time, but it could still survive. So it was the fact that Danny Gordon, a police officer I interviewed, was probably the most impressive interview I've done so far.
Right. Yeah. That makes good sense. The police officer who's trained to observe, and he's the one that sees it. And I've seen him tell his story several times, at least on 2 other shows. And I think you got a really good version of his story on your episode.
Yes, my dad actually plays Danny Gordon in the episode for the reenactment.
Oh, your dad plays Danny Gordon
in the reenactment, yeah.
Oh, that was your dad doing that. Well, that's cool. Is your dad a willful collaborator, or do you have to bribe him?
Well, ever since I saw the documentary with him, he knows how passionate I am about this field. Like my brother, he used to make fun of me, about what I was doing and the research that I'm doing, and he really doesn't understand what's going on. If I didn't read the books and research some of the sightings and talk to the people, I would be skeptical about the existence of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. So my dad, at first, he was like, the average skeptic, it could be anything. But as we went on to all these trips, he just got more interested and more open-minded to the possibility of the existence of these creatures. So, my dad knows how passionate I am, and he wants to help out as much as he can. And I told this on all the shows I've been. I said, Dad, if you go, the show goes.
Well, that's pretty cool. The fact that he doesn't necessarily believe in Bigfoot or anything like that.
He's open to the possibility of it.
But he's still supporting you for it. I think that's awesome. Well, let's see if I have any more canned questions here. Actually, I don't. We're going to have to wing it from here on out. All right, that's when the show gets really good.
A couple questions.
All right, bring them on.
All right, Arky Feet asks, what do Jordan's friends think about what he does on his films? And also, Blue Tracker wants to ask you, DB, if you remember a show called You Ask For It.
Well, for my friends, as Josh called in, he thinks it's pretty cool, the fact that, there are these creatures that are being seen all over the world. But, I really haven't told a lot of my friends about what I'm doing because, number one, today kids are obsessed with cell phones and all that, school popularity and stuff, and I really don't care about any of it. I just, like what I want to do, and if I told anyone about Bigfoot, they would probably laugh because, I would laugh if I didn't do what I'm doing right now because, if I was thinking of Bigfoot, I would think of unicorns, but no, I don't. I accept it. I'm 80% believer and 20% skeptical, but, a lot of it is real, but a lot of it, could be misidentification. But my friends, I don't think they would really accept it if I showed them some of the evidence that people are gathering.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's true that we don't really know what it is that causes people to see what they see, but I believe that a lot of these people who say that they've seen it, I mean, especially people like the police officer in that episode of yours, what is his motive for saying that he saw something like that? I can't imagine one. Of course, now sometimes people have crazy motives, and you can never imagine them. But I just think there are too many good witnesses that have described what they've seen, and their descriptions match what other people have described. So there's got to be something behind it. Something exists that's causing them to see this. And now the question of what it is that they're seeing, well, that we don't know, and we're not going to know until we can catch one. Somebody asked me a question. Did I remember a show called You Asked for It? I do remember You Asked for It, but I don't remember anything having to do with Bigfoot on that You Asked for It. Now, I mean, that does ring a tiny bell, but I'm not getting it. So that's the best I can do to answer that question. JC, have we got any more questions?
JT67 wanted to ask if Jordan had forwarded any of his findings on to, like, any of the experts like Dr. Meldrum or Dr. Bindernagel.
Yes, if we actually do film an episode on any of these Bigfoot creatures around Pennsylvania, Ohio, and such, you bet I'm going to forward on to contact Dr. John Bindernagel and Jeff Meldrum to look at them. You bet.
Good. Well, you know what time it is, don't you? It's now 1:30, which means it's time to have a commercial. So hang tight, everybody. We'll be back in about 2 minutes with more Jordan Warner.
You are listening to Sasquatch Watch Radio. Stay tuned.
Are you tired of the same old boring radio? Looking for something with a bit of an edge? Then sit down, strap in, and hold on tight, for you're about to be taken beyond the edge.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's get ready to rumble! It's Down and Dirty Paranormal Talk Radio that takes you beyond the edge. Join us here on Blog Talk Radio Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern for Beyond the Edge Radio, as we interview the everyday investigator to the seasoned researcher. From ghosts and hauntings, demonology, UFO and alien life forms, cryptozoology, psychic phenomenon, and other mysteries and unusual anomalies. Paranormal Talk Radio that goes beyond the edge, and it's right here every Friday night at 9 as we take you from the boring everyday normal into the world of the paranormal. Think you're brave enough? Then lock your doors, open your minds, and join us if you dare. Beyond the Edge Radio, Friday nights 9 p.m. Eastern, only on Blog Talk Radio. Beyond the Edge Radio is an anomalous entertainment production. Check us out, beyondtheedgeradio.com.
Yes, the incomparable Eric Altman has Beyond the Edge Radio on Friday nights. Join him. Now, I see that I've got a caller on the line, so I'm going to get right to that, and let's find out what this is all about. Caller from the 740 area code. You're on the air.
Hey, good evening. Don Keating here. Just wanted to ask Jordan a quick question. Jordan, what, in your opinion, would you say has been your most favorite episode that you have worked on for your show thus far?
Well, hey, Don. My favorite episode. Oh, this is a tough one. It's probably either the Whitehall Sasquatch one I did or the Mothman. Because, number one, the Mothman one is probably one of the most fascinating stories of, because, you know, the history of Point Pleasant is pretty much the history of the Mothman. And the fact that Men in Black, you know, we're seeing these creatures, you know, the Men in Black threatened witnesses not to talk about the Mothman, and the fact that with all the other strange happenings going on there, and with the Clash of the Silver Bridge, you know, it makes you wonder what was going on between November 1966 and December 1967. And for the Whitehall episode, like I said, the fact that police officers are seeing these creatures too. And like I said, they've been trained in the art of observation. They know what they saw. So you can't really tell them, no, you didn't see this. You know, I believe police officers know what they saw. And if they see a Sasquatch, then most likely that's what they saw. So it's either between Whitehall or Mothman. That's a hard one, Don.
Okay, and a follow-up question for you, then I'll hang up and let you guys go. Do you have some shows that you've already got outlines for that you're going to do for your second season? And if so, do you care to elaborate and give us a few hints as to what they will be? Thank you very much for being on my show last Wednesday evening. Have a good evening, folks, and we'll catch you later.
Okay, thanks, Don.
Okay, for season 2, all I'm going to say is, number 1, we're planning to do more Bigfoot episodes.
We like to hear that.
Yeah, everybody does. We are doing a special episode on Kinderhook, New York, because that area has been a very big fascination with mine ever since I read Monsters of the North Woods, written by Paul Bartholomew and Bill Brand. Yes, more Bigfoot episodes, and we're probably going to do a 2-hour special. Well, more videos for that episode, a 2-hour special for the last episode of season 2. Probably back to Whitehall, New York.
Great. It's cool to me that you have this all mapped out like this. And it's also really cool to me that you have the get up and go to actually go to these places, get the interviews lined up, and get it all done. You know, I mean, a lot of people know this. I was a teacher for 9th graders, and they're mostly 15 years old. And I got to tell you, there weren't very many of them that had that kind of get up and go that were in my classes. So you're to be commended for that. That's a special quality.
Well, usually when we go on these trips, we're on the road by 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, really?
Which is probably one of our biggest regrets, because we're so tired and we can't even look which way's up and down. But, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, that's the way to get the work done. You got to get up and you got to go. Yeah, that's good. You know, I'm really looking forward to the Mothman episode, too. Now, Mothman doesn't have a whole lot to do with Bigfoot, although they do share one quality or one feature, and that is that they both have these glowing red eyes. Bigfoot's eyes don't always glow red, but sometimes people see them with the glowing red eyes. And I've always wondered about that. Have you got any idea? I mean, I know you're just starting out at this, but maybe you've given it some thought. What do you think is up with the fact that their eyes will glow without any other source of light?
Well, Cliff Sparks, the guy interviewed for my Sasquatch episode, Sasquatch Encounter, he saw 2 red glowing eyes. They're like beams. Like, he actually saw like beams of light coming out of his eyes, and they were red. So, that's a really tough question. I'm probably not the guy who would know. I'm sorry. I don't know. It's just
I don't think anybody knows. I mean, when I first started actively researching Bigfoot, I had not yet heard that the red eyes were independent of any other source of light. I always thought as well, it's like a dog, and he shines some light in his eyes, it reflects back, but it isn't like that. And when I heard that, I nearly quit right then. Like, oh yeah, all right, their eyes glow red. But then I saw something, and I have friends who've actually seen it much better than I have. And once you've seen that red glow, you're like, what can that possibly be? And I haven't got it figured out. But hey, we've got a caller here. Let me see if I can get this caller to come in here. Let's see, press that there. Caller in the 304 area code. You're on the air.
What's going on, Jordan? It's Marcus from West Virginia.
Hey, Marcus, how are you?
I'm chilling. My question for you is, out of all the cryptids that are out there, what's the number one on your list to catch? The main one you want to get?
Probably the one that everybody in the chat room is looking for, Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, yeah, good answer. Now, if you were on a show where they're looking for the lake monsters, you'd say the lake monster, wouldn't you? Tell me the truth.
Well, yeah, sure. Why not? But it's pretty much the Bigfoot one that's probably pretty much has made this show and my show pretty much a reality and the Mothman. Those two, I think, are the ones that pretty much have captured my eye and investigate more into this.
Mhm.
All right, that's good stuff right there. That's pretty much it. I just want to hit on with that. I had to give a call in.
All right. Thanks for calling, Marcus.
All right, y'all take it easy.
Yeah, thanks for your call. Press that button there. I might have cut him off when he was trying to say goodbye. Sorry about that, Marcus. I'm new at this. That's I got an excuse for this week anyway, right? Let's see now. JC, have we gotten? I think we've gotten some more questions in the chat room. Have you got some for us?
Yes. MC79 wanted to ask Jordan about if he had heard about the chief of Point Pleasant putting a curse on the town, Chief Cornstalk, I believe the name was.
Yes, I've heard about the Cornstalk curse, and there's actually a man named Denny Bellamy. He's like the county's bureau. Like he plans everything out. Like if the television company's there to film up episode, he pretty much helps the production out. But anyways, yes, everybody thinks that Cornstalk placed a curse on Point Pleasant, and that's why all the weird things were happening. The Silver Bridge collapse, the sightings, the UFO activity, the strange men in black, well, maybe not black, but the paranormal phenomena going on there. So, I'm not really a believer in curses, but there could have been something there. I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay, Irish guy wants to know your opinion on the findings of 3-toed tracks and 5-toed tracks.
Well, in the South, Texas, Florida, there's a lot of, in South Carolina, there's reports of the lizard man, the reptilian humanoid-like creature, and there's been things going on, in the South. There's been 3 4-toed tracks, and in the Pacific Northwest, there seems to be, 5-toed tracks. So, the 5-toed tracks, in my opinion, are probably more looking into than the 3-toed tracks. I mean, the 3-toed tracks, some of it looks pretty like, wow, this is a cool track. But like I said, I'm probably not the guy to ask about that. Ask Jeff Meldrum or John Bernardo, they might know, but I'm not really the guy who knows a lot about the tracks.
Okay, Don Keating wanted to ask how much of the footage that you shoot gets cut on the cutting room floor. How much do you throw out?
Well, that's a good question. Probably about, let me see. Maybe about 2 hours of footage. Or more. I have a lot.
How much do you gather? How much do you gather on an average?
On the average, it's probably 2, 3, not 2 hours. 3 or 4 hours.
Very interesting.
You cut about half of it?
Yeah. I just like to get to the main parts of the whole trip, like the eyewitnesses and all that stuff.
Well, you know what that means. What that means is when it comes time for you to put out a DVD, you got a lot of extras to pack in there for the fans.
That's correct.
Right, yeah. Hey, how about this? Have you got any really funny bloopers that you're holding back?
That's probably the first time somebody ever said that to me. Yes, we do have some bloopers. Well, actually, if you type in if you go on the chat room, if anybody wants to buy a DVD, they're allowed to. You can go to, my email is cryptidhunt@gmail.com.
Right.
So, I don't know how to use that buying stuff, but you just, just send me a message, what episode you want. I'll try to ship it to you as best I can. Just give me your mailing address, and I'll try to send you a copy of it.
Well, will that include the bloopers?
I'll work on that, yes.
The extras. We also need the director's commentary. That's that part they put on the back of it.
As soon as I learn how to do that, I'll try to do that.
That's advanced stuff. You'll be doing that after college or in college.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I'm only 15.
JC, have we got any more questions here?
Okay, Creature Seeker wanted to know what Jordan's friends at band camp think of his films.
What?
At band camp?
Jordan doesn't have time for band camp. He's a busy man.
Creature Seeker, Bruce, you're a funny guy.
Hey, I got to get this in because we keep forgetting. Billy and I talk about this every time after the show is over. We'll say, you know what we forgot to do? We forgot to tell people what the call-in number is because not everybody is on the chat. If anybody is listening and would like to call in, the number is 347-237-5070. That's 347-237-5070. We got about 15 more minutes with Jordan Warner. If you got a question, call in. We'll get it to you. All right, JC, we got any more questions there?
No, not at the moment.
All right, Jordan. So that means that we are going to roll with this. Now, I've had some thoughts, and one of my thoughts is when you go down to Point Pleasant and you're looking for the Mothman, and you're doing a film about it, how do people treat you while you're doing that? That's something that I've always wanted to know. And you being 15 years old, they might even be more free with their their comments. How does that go?
Well, for the people of West Virginia?
Yeah, or I'm just picking that one because that's the one you're doing right now. But any of them, when you go there and you're doing filming on location and you're looking for more witnesses, how is it that people treat you?
Well, a lot of people at the Point Pleasant area, they were all very, very nice to me. They gave me the information I needed. They pretty much treated me as pretty much a person they'd probably meet, looking for answers, like you, me, and everybody else in the chat room is. Pretty much everywhere I've gone, when I'm looking for something, they pretty much give it to me when I'm trying to look for. So everybody I've talked to and interviewed, they've all been very, very nice to me. So, yeah, I've been treated as a good person.
Well, that's cool. And I think that in this case, your age probably is helping you out because I can tell you, now I haven't been to Point Pleasant, but there was another place in West Virginia where I was, and of course you're always subject to, the luck of the draw. You run into one person, and he's like, oh yeah, I know something about Bigfoot. You run into somebody else, you got a different story. And I sidled up next to this guy who was he wasn't a police officer. He was like, I can't remember now, but it was some kind of law enforcement work that had something to do with the parklands. And I asked him, well, did you ever get any Bigfoot sighting reports? And he looked at me like I stank like 3-day-old fish or something. I mean, it's like the expression on his face was priceless. I wish I had a camera and I could have taken a picture of it. And then he said, no. Like it was the most ridiculous thing he'd ever heard. Now, I bet if I'd been 15, he wouldn't have treated me like that.
Well, the interesting is when I was interviewing Denny Bellamy, when I said to him about how many reported sightings were there in Point Pleasant, he told me, well, there's over 100 documented sightings, and he said there's probably another 200 more that were unreported. And he said this is probably the biggest difference between Bigfoot and Loch Ness. And my head was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Because Mothman, it was a little town. People were seeing this big bird-like creature. Mm-hmm. And Bigfoot sightings are happening all over the world. Well, there actually have been Mothman sightings, too, before a major world disaster, like September 11th. People saw an owl-like man. The tsunami in Indonesia. What else?
Really?
Nothing else I can think of, but, Bigfoot's been sighted almost all over the world, so I think pretty much that the Sasquatch is probably the main cryptid in my mind. It's probably the cryptid that's most likely to exist than any of these other animals in this field.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I mean, that's what brought me into actively researching this, is the fact that so many people see them, and there is physical evidence, such as it is. It isn't great physical evidence, but there is physical evidence, and that's important, and it's something that drew me to it. Hey, listen, we've got another caller. Looks like a Skype caller, so I can't tell where from. So let me get this opened up here. Okay, caller from Skype, you are on the air.
Hey, how you doing? It's the Creature Seeker.
Hey, Creature Seeker. Have you got a
Hey,
question
Bruce.
for Jordan?
Well, I was just curious. What is it that got you involved with the cryptids, and what do your folks think of that? Do they think you're a little strange because you have such an interest in this stuff, or do they think it's just a phase? Are they supportive?
Well, my mom, she's a mom. She doesn't pay attention much to, creatures like this, Bigfoot and, monsters and stuff like that. But my dad, he's the one who's been really, 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 really supportive in my quest, because I've actually been doing research for 7 years. Like, I've been quiet. I haven't really talked to a lot of the investigators. I've just been doing my own little research for like 7 years. Then as I got older, to 15, I just wanted to just get the information I have and put it out there. So my parents, they were a little bit concerned because I was really into this, but they know that I'm so passionate about this field, looking for answers. I'm a person that's really wanting answers to these mysteries, and because some of these mysteries have gone way too long. So, but as far as how all the support I'm getting all over the internet too, their thoughts are changing a little bit. So they're kind of liking the fact that I'm doing this when I'm 15. So that's pretty much it.
Oh, I think that's great. Of course I kid you a lot in the chat room, and you're a good sport for it. But I kid pretty much everyone in the chat room.
Yeah.
Especially that no good loser JC. Is he actually on the air right now?
In fact, he is.
Oh. All right. I take that back. Just kidding, JC. No, I actually think that's awesome. And kudos to you for just undertaking this initiative on your own. I remember when I first got involved. Of course, there was no internet or anything, but I look back and it's kind of neat that that you're allowed, that your parents are supportive of you, and that they encourage you just to to go out and do this kind of stuff. My mom would have been a worrywart, and like, I don't want you going in the woods looking for a Bigfoot.
Well, actually, when me and my dad are on the trip, she worries about us every day. She calls us like 6 times an hour.
Really?
But my dad's with me. It's pretty much bonding pretty much with us, me and my dad, out in the woods looking for Bigfoot. How cool is that?
Now, when you go out interviewing people, do your folks worry that you're interviewing these kooky people who are interested in Bigfoot? Do they ever express any concern over that?
Yes, they actually have said some things a couple of times. I contact the researchers who have been talking to these people. Who's credible. Who's a drinker or something like that.
Yeah.
I just like to contact the researchers first, then before any of the eyewitnesses, to get their feeling on who's credible, who's not. So, yeah, the researchers are the big help in my film.
Well, for example, before you interview someone, does your mom have to okay it? Does she have to call them up and say, "Look, you kids, you guys, don't"?
No, not really.
Yeah.
She trusts me. I'm a good student in school. I get all my homework and do good on my tests. So, she trusts me with a lot of these things. So,
I don't know. You're on the chat room pretty late at night, I have to say. I'm confused.
Hey, Bruce, just because your mother screens your calls doesn't mean Jordan's does.
Oh, that was a burn. I like that one. Somehow I thought a steak was going to be involved in that cut, but no, that was even better.
I knew that steak thing was going to rear its ugly head. How come I can't live that down?
That's because you're still digesting it right now.
Very
It's
true.
not finished rearing its ugly head.
Yeah, but the thing is, Jordan, the more you get into this, the more good meals you're going to get. I guarantee it. You just gotta play your cards right. So
right.
One thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to start hitting the conferences that go on every year.
Mhm.
So Jordan, have you been to any conferences, like Don's conference or?
No, I really, really do want to go to these conferences. I never had the time to because of my schoolwork and everything,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to make it to Don's conference this year. I'm not going to promise I'm going to be there, but I'm going to try to and try to film some of it. But I really do want to go to some of these conferences, and I really want to go to the Yakima, Washington one, but of course I really can't make it for that one. But Don's conference, I'm going to try to make it to.
Well, Don's conference is great. Eric Altman's conference is great. Those are really the only two conferences that I try to go to religiously. Eric's conference was the first time I went to that conference last year, and it was really awesome. I've been going to Don's conference for a while now, and it's always a fun time. And honestly, he's always has great speakers, and it's always great to meet up with these folks that you talk to in the chat room all the time.
Yeah, it's like, when you walk into, like, say that your job or something like that, like, you're probably the guy who only talks about Bigfoot, and people might think he talks about Bigfoot, but, when you go to these conferences, I haven't been to one, but I'm pretty sure if you talk to anybody, they have a story to tell, or they know some guy who's seen this thing or something like that, so I really do want to try to go to these conferences.
Believe it or not, Jordan, when you go to these conferences, you do hear some really cool stories. Now, I have to tell you, there's a certain percentage of them that are probably totally made up, but there are a couple of people that you meet. You can tell that they're sincere, and they have some really interesting stories to tell. I go to this diner there, just down the street from Salt Fork, and I love going to that diner, not because obviously the food there, although that's a plus, but the people who come in there are just regular folk, hunters or whatever, and I've heard so many cool stories that they've told me that they've probably never told anyone else before. But and you would never, you'd probably never hear it except if you were in a place like that and actually asked them. And at first they're kind of, they're just kind of suspect. But I think once you get to know them, they sort of confide in you, and they're more willing to open up to you. And some pretty cool stuff. I actually got some leads on some sighting areas out there. So.
Yeah, as Don told on his show, we're going to try to film an episode on the Ohio Bigfoot down there, so I can't wait to head down to Ohio and look at all the sightings, because I was reading Chris Murphy's book, Bigfoot Encounters in Ohio, Christopher the Grassman, and I was just amazed of all the sightings that were going around the Salt Fork area, but all the counties too. And if I wasn't involved in this, I would just think, it could be anything, but I really want to just get involved into solving what people are seeing.
Yeah. Well,
I got one last question. Let me slip it in here real quick, okay? Irish guy wanted Jordan to give some information if he heard about the black cats in northern Ohio. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah. I forget. Yes, I heard about it. I don't know exactly where, but I think I heard about it 3 days ago. But we're doing an episode for the end of season 1 on Black Panther sightings. We're thinking about doing it either in West Virginia or Pennsylvania, but there's not a lot going on in Pennsylvania. But West Virginia has a lot of Black Panther reports. But yes, we're trying to film an episode on Black Panthers, but I'll look more into the Ohio region after probably the show.
Thanks. Sorry, Bruce.
No, that's okay.
It's time for Bruce to be quiet anyway, because we've only got 90 seconds left.
I just wanted to say great show, and Jordan, again, kudos to you. Take care.
Thanks,
Very,
Bruce.
very good, Bruce. Thank you. Next time I cut him off. He was going to say more, and I cut him off. I did it again. Next time, we're going to have to talk about the infamous chair incident. Yeah, that'll just be a teaser. Okay, well, next week we're going to have the habituation discussion show. So there's not really a guest. It's just whoever calls in and wants to talk gets to talk, and that's going to be great. Jordan, this show tonight has been super awesome, and I thank you for coming on and sharing your stories with us.
Yeah, it was really fun. If you want, I'll do it again if you like.
Oh, definitely. We definitely have you on our list of guests to bring back. And it was also great to hear from the callers that we heard from, and we hope that you all have enjoyed the show and that you'll be back again next week. And with that, I'm going to hit this little thing here that says outro theme, and we are going to say good night. See you next week. Sasquatch Watch Radio.
Get well, Billy.
Yes, get well, Billy, and thanks for your help, JC.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.